relationship with Howard Quinlan, vice principal. Or to the students of Central Kitsap, Mr. Huey and Mr. Quinlan. Those two gentlemen worked together as a remarkable team for about 35 years in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. He was probably one of the students. I've never had a sense of their working relationship. Dad was meticulous at never bringing his work home. No gossip was heard at our dinner table. But when I was in college, I got a tiny glimpse of the team in action, and I treasure it. I had a summer job at the power company in Bremerton, and a member of my graduating class, 62, came in to pay his bill. And we chatted, and he asked after Dad. And then he got a very sweet look on his face, and he said, "Your dad did me a big favor once. I owe him." End of conversation, next customer. That evening, I said to Dad, "You must have done something terrific for so-and-so." He still remembers, and he's very grateful. And Dad chuckled. And he said, "Well, Howard and I had a thing we did for students that were going downhill and near reaching bottom and losing their ability to behave. The team would decide which one of the team had the better relationship with the student. And the next time the student messed up, he was handed over to the one that he had the least connection to, and told sternly he'd used up all his get-out-of-jail-free cards, and he was to be that day, right now, expelled. Being booted out of school, then, involved a pile of paperwork for which students had to sit through and witness as they were filled out in messy carbon copies. The last step was to call the parents, for them to haul away the student and the contents of his gym locker and hall locker. And at that step, when the hand was on the phone, the other member of the team would walk in on a totally unrelated pretext and stop and say, "Whoa, what's going on?" And in front of the student would convince the other team member that he deserved another chance and list all the student's good qualities and offer to make a personal effort to help the student. And the student was not expelled. Dad said most of the time it worked. I know what you're thinking, but this was 30 years before Law and Order was on TV. We didn't know what good cop, bad cop was. So if any of you here think that you came this close to be booted out of school by Mr. Quinlan and rescued by Mr. Huey, or by Mr. Huey and rescued by Mr. Quinlan, you were the lucky recipients of the Quinlan-Huey scam. And rest assured, both of them wanted only the best for you, and neither of them wanted you to be expelled. Somewhere on this campus is a brass bell dedicated to Mr. Huey and Mr. Quinlan. Circa 1974, I think. Mr. Huey had announced his retirement, and the younger Mr. Quinlan surprised everyone by announcing that there was no way he was going to continue working if it wasn't to be with Mr. Huey. The bell commemorates the simultaneous retirement of two lovely gentlemen.